Okay, I think we're ready to do this thing. I think there's a whole lot going on here. I'm trying to get everything organized, but it's all looking good. It's looking splendid. We've got some people in the Zoom meeting. We've got some viewers. So welcome along, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Wendy and Alan, I see you guys there. Can you hear us okay? Beautiful, lovely. Thank you for joining us on Zoom. And we've got Bruce and Steph in Zoom as well. So you can see these guys in the Zoom meeting over here. If anyone else wants to join the Zoom meeting, the details are along here, also in the description of the video. So you can just copy and paste the meeting details from there if you want to. Now, just a heads up, what's happening in the Zoom meeting is that if you do join the Zoom meeting, you're going to be up there theoretically throughout the whole program, as if you were in the live audience, just sitting there watching it. And if you want to say something, just unmute yourself and pitch in. And in theory, we should just be able to hear you come in, and you'll take up that little box there. And we can also bring you in. I should have warned you about that. Sorry, Wendy. There we go. Steph and Bruce. So hopefully we'll have, oh, and Ellen. Oh, better say hi to Ellen as well. Hi, Ellen. How are you going? Lovely to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. This should be the last kind of testing to get everything working on the Zoom. Everything's working really well so far. Hi, Poison Toad, Casey, Hamish, everyone else who's joining in. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on what is an important date. It's the 12th of April. We are recognizing an important anniversary tonight. Who's going to be the first person in the comments to tell me what we are recognizing tonight on April the 12th? Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that one. So tonight, what are we going to do? We are open, of course, to any kind of chat about anything at all, either through Zoom or just through the normal chat channel. That's fine. A few things to talk about in the news, I suppose. Now, we are going to be talking about the Mars helicopter. The plan was it was actually due to take its flight tonight, just after 8 o'clock tonight. They were going to start the live coverage. Unfortunately, it has been put off. So my great plan of doing this show and then switching over to watching the helicopter mission, that's not going to happen. And I'm not quite sure exactly when they are planning now. We'll get back to that in a moment, though. Apologies that we didn't go live yesterday. Unfortunately, that is going to be a recurring theme. It's just the way things are, I'm afraid. I'll try my best to try and schedule these sessions as far out as I can, but unfortunately, I'm sorry, things are going to have to be a little bit flexible. Hey, Ross, Tristan, Ashley, awesome to see all you guys. Thank you for joining in. Okay, so a couple of suggestions for what we might be celebrating tonight. Not quite the one I'm thinking of. There are actually a few things, but it is a very historic date. Let's see. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Tristan is saying they're trying again on the 14th for the helicopter flight. Excuse me. Thanks for that, Tristan. Okay. But we are asking everyone, what is the significance of April the 12th for space enthusiasts? Space flight enthusiasts, especially. Let's have, oh no, that'll do for now. Ooh, Ashley, you are right. That is one of the things. There are more than one things. The first space shuttle launch. Now I'm pretty sure I've got this right. Someone had better Google this and just make sure it was the first flight of Columbia in 81. Yikes, I should know that off the top of my head, shouldn't I? Someone will Google that for me, but that's not actually the one I was thinking of. It is one of the things. Poison Toad's got it. Bingo. There we go. Yuri Gagarin, first human in space. So it is Yuri's night. April the 12th is Yuri's night. It's a worldwide celebration. You can actually kind of get involved in various parties and things that they have around the world. If you want to check it out, they are doing a live stream at yurisnight.net. Because New Zealand's sort of ahead in the timeline, it's not really quite happening yet. They're sort of firing it up. But it is usually an evening session that they have. So after the show tonight, if you want to check out yurisnight.net to see what everyone's doing. But Ashley was also dead right. It is also, did anyone Google that yet? It is the anniversary, I'm pretty sure, of Columbia, the first space shuttle flight as well. Oh, Casey, watch that. in 81. Wow, that's pretty cool. Could you do that back then? Nice. Okay, so yeah, Wendy, Wendy, Vienna and I are here. So and Ashley, everyone's on board. This is really awesome. Thank you guys for joining in tonight. Okay, so what we should probably do is quickly go over what's been happening with the Ingenuity and stuff. I want to get into some news a little bit earlier tonight instead of mucking around for too long. So let's have a couple of quick look at some photos that have come from Ingenuity, because we obviously don't have a flight actually happening tonight. So all I've really got to show you is a couple of beautiful photos, I think. So this is the rover with Ingenuity all by itself over there, kind of similar to the photos that we saw last week, I suppose, but just a couple of new photos coming in. So very cool, and a nice close-up photo. Now, they have got as far as testing the blades, and I believe that one of the tests that they did ended early, which is why they've put it off for a little bit. So if we have a look at the Twitter feed, you can actually see it's a terribly blurry picture because it's they've obviously digitally zoomed in on it, but you can actually see them testing the blades there. So they are actually working. So this is really good news. I don't know why the test was stopped early. If anyone can tell me if they know any more, please do so. There has been an update. I know they did an interview with the engineering team. I think it was just within the last 24 hours or so. I didn't catch that, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. But I believe that this test was stopped early, but they are planning, Casey said, on the 14th, by the looks of it, to have the test flight. So we're going to have to wait till then, or possibly next week. Right, Bruce, let's see. Oh, let's bring in the Zoom. Let's bring in the Zoom meeting. What have we got?
First of all, I think that 14th it won't be before the 14th, is what I read.
Yep.
But it didn't necessarily mean it would go on the 14th. Something I've always wondered about this helicopter on Mars is we know that helicopters run out of air once they get up to a certain altitude. Has this been a problem for them on Mars, or do they just make it? What do they do? How do they get around the lower air pressure?
Right, it's a great question, and that pretty much is the, as far as I understand it, the main issue that they were concerned about, other than all the normal getting it radiation hardened and all of those sort of things that you have to deal with getting something to Mars. The big issue has been, how do you make powered flight happen on a planet with such a low density atmosphere? So it's only about 1% of the density of Earth's atmosphere. So that is a big problem. Offset somewhat by the fact that Mars only has 1/3 of Earth's gravity. So that's going to help a little bit. But still, you've got that problem of the very low density. So basically, in order to get around that, there's a couple of things that you can or need to do. The first is to make it as lightweight as possible. It's got to be really light. You want the blades to be as big as possible and as fast as possible. So that's the big thing. I think they made a huge effort to get the weight of everything down. And in this test flight, this whole helicopter they've got, it's not really carrying any scientific instruments or anything really that wasn't essential, other than that little bit of the Wright brothers flyer, of course, but that was only very light. Thanks, Ellen and Wendy. You pointed that out last time, didn't you? So, yeah, they had to make it as lightweight as possible, the blades as big as possible, and to spin as fast as possible. Now, I'm just thinking back over some of the engineering interviews I've seen previously, and that was quite a challenge, getting the RPM, the revolutions, up high enough. So it's 2,400 RPM, I'm pretty sure, is the revolution rate. So it's spinning really, really fast. So, yeah, basically that's what it is. Lightweight, big blades, spinning fast. And they did all these tests, of course, in the vacuum chamber at NASA. So they simulated the Martian pressure there. So they're not going into this completely blind. They have actually tested it on Earth. Of course, they had the gravity difference, of course. So, yep, hopefully within the next week, we're going to see some real action there. Okay, so I'm seeing we're already getting a few comments coming here. I better just try and keep an eye on this. Now, here's an interesting thing. You guys in the Zoom meeting, if you can help me out here, if possible, by keeping an eye on the chat and let me know if I'm getting behind or missing something important. That's been an ongoing problem in the past. I go back afterwards and realize I've missed some stuff that I really should have commented on or replied to. So Casey, I still can't believe that you managed to watch that launch live back in 81. That is very cool. I can't actually remember the flight, really, myself. I don't know why. So hang on, Ross is saying, if I'm correct, Sputnik was the first signal station in orbit. Yes, that was the first radio signal sent by something from in space that we could hear. So Hamish is saying, I did, and it came up with grilled cheese day. So it's not just Yuri's day today or Yuri's night, it's also grilled cheese day, everyone. There you go. It was live on TV once, says Casey. Right.
And it was the first flight of Columbia.
And it was. We have confirmed that. Thank you, thank you for that. Awesome. Right. All right. Now, Ashley's telling me about the problem. So with the helicopter, error when trying to change from pre-flight to flight mode. Oh, and to add to poison toads. Oh, it was a timer expiration. Okay, then. I'm not sure how bad that sounds. I'm hoping that's just a software issue. Does that sound like a software issue?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully it's nothing too bad. And if they have put another date where they're saying not before 14th, that would imply that they are reasonably confident they're going to get on top of it, doesn't it? Okay. Awesome. Thanks for that, guys. The system's working. You guys are helping me out. Nice. Okay, so I think that was actually all I had to say about Ingenuity itself, because there's not really much more to say unless anyone else wants to chip in. Possibly a couple of other things with Mars. What else was there? Oh, Mars Insight. I actually just wanted to quickly mention that. So Mars Insight, of course, the lander, it's not a rover, the lander that's already on Mars has picked up a couple of Mars quakes, which is nice. It's doing some good work there, and we can see a little bit of animation there. Actually, what's going on here is that they are scooping up some dirt and apparently just sprinkling some soil over the cables and stuff to help it be more sensitive and pick up the Mars quakes a little bit better. Now, what did I have in my notes here? Not much. Mars quakes help us to understand the mantle and core of Mars. So, yep, we know about that. We're looking to study the internal makeup of Mars, and this is helping a lot. These were a couple of pretty sizable Mars quakes by the sounds of it. So Mars doesn't have tectonic plates like Earth does, but it still does have some volcanic activity that can cause some rumbles and things. And, of course, as the waves go through the planet, and sort of reflect around and stuff, that can help us learn about the internal makeup of Mars. So that's a nice result from Mars Insight. Looks like it's doing some good stuff there. I've just realized I've got another couple of quick notes here on going back to the helicopter. The flight is going to be for about 40 seconds, up to about 3 meters high. Now, Casey, I think, was asking last week if we are expecting to see any live video or images. No, as expected, as we thought last week, we're probably not really going to see anything in the way of images at all through the live actual flight part of it. The best we can hope for, I believe, is just data coming back to let us know that it's happening. And then we should start seeing some images come back in over the following 24 hours or so, including, I believe, some video. Wow, that'll be cool. So that's that. So it's going to take about 6 seconds to reach its maximum height, which is pretty fast. Hover for about 30 seconds, then come back down again. Meanwhile, the Perseverance rover will be parked at its overlook point about 65 meters away from the helicopter. If all goes really well, then the helicopter could fly up to about another 4 times this month. There is a hard limit, I believe, on the number of times that it will fly. There's not going to be any mission extension or anything like that. Once they've done all the flights they can do that they've got planned, then that will be the end of it. Okay, so yeah, that was basically it about Mars, unless anyone's got anything else to chip in. Ellen, you guys are looking good there, Ellen. Thank you so much for doing this. Everyone's got to help out in testing here. That's looking perfect. That's looking great. It's really awesome to have you guys here.
We're going to try doing it on Wendy's laptop. Might be a bit easier, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm hoping that everyone else can hear these guys when they're chipping in okay. That just let me know if the audio levels need to be tweaked or anything like that. But from where I'm sitting, it's all going really well, swimmingly well, scarily well. Something will go wrong soon. Okay, now we'll get on to some more news in just a sec. I'm just thinking, was there anything else in the housekeeping stuff I quickly wanted to talk about? Oh, there was one thing, the name change. After taking the feedback from all you guys last week, I did go ahead and change the name of the YouTube channel to Space Dave. There were a couple of issues with it, including a blind panic at the start of the show tonight when it told me that I wasn't authorized to stream to that channel with about 3 minutes out. So I panicked like nothing and quickly reauthorized and everything, and obviously it's working. Other than that, things seem to be going fine. So you should now be able to search Space Dave instead of having to search for Te Space Center, which is a bit hard for all our overseas visitors. Thanks for all your feedback about that. Later on tonight, I'm just, Casey's saying it's sounding like a rant time. Wendy's giving the thumbs up for the name change, thanks. Carsten, hey Carsten, nice to see you again. And he's saying the audio is good, awesome. So many things are going well that something really bad is going to happen to balance it all out. That's the way we normally go. Hey Crookie, nice to see you here again. Might have a quick mention of Rocket Lab a little bit later on. What else do we want to talk about? Later on tonight, I want to talk about my live feeds. I just want to give you a quick heads up. I've got an idea with our whole live feed set up to make that system so that you can download it and run that whole system yourself at home. If you are interested in doing that, stay tuned. We'll get back to that a little bit later on. Right, we've got a few more people joining in. Now how do I pronounce your username? Fixilty? Someone help me out with that one. Anyway, you come in from the Mind Plus. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So Mind Plus is an organization that we've been doing some Zoom sessions with for people who are rather talented, clever people, clever students. We've been running some sessions with them from around the country, actually. So thank you so much for joining in. What else did we want to talk about in the news? Anyone pitch in if you've got some things to talk about that you want to talk about, of course. We could talk about what's happening over at NASA. Shall we do that? So I just did a little bit of a check-in earlier today to see what is happening with NASA. So we've just had the president's funding request for NASA. So that's when the president says, this is what we want to fund NASA over the next however long. And that doesn't mean that that's what they actually get, but given the political situation in the States, that shouldn't be a problem. I think we would assume that with the Democrats being in charge of everything, that this should more or less go through. So it's been an interesting budget request. It includes a few things. Let's have a look at some quick outtakes from the video that they had. So climate change. It's nice to see that featuring back in NASA's budget and everyone just being open about it and not just hiding the climate change thing. We haven't seen or heard much about NASA's climate change research in the last few years, so it's good to see that back on the agenda. The aeronautics, there's a fair bit of funding being put aside for aeronautics, which is, of course, part of NASA's mission. Including this test aircraft. What was it called? The X-57 electric aircraft. So a test electric aircraft. There's some funding for that. The James Webb Space Telescope, of course, there's funding requesting for that, which we assume will go through no problem. That's when's James Webb supposed to launch? I believe it's October this year that they are hoping for the launch, but who knows? It's the James Webb Telescope. Anything could happen. But hopefully we might finally see some action on that. Funding for Artemis, of course. We assume that, again, that will carry through without any real problem. While we're on Artemis, you know the good old catchphrase, the first woman and the next men on the moon, the thing that we've been over. Oh, there's been an update. So the official tagline is now, apparently, from what I can see, the first woman and the first person of color on the moon. So they've changed that little thing. So they've obviously decided to make that a requirement as well. So there's obviously going to have to be a woman and at least a person of color. Let's not get sidetracked into that whole thing. Oh, hang on. I'm just seeing, sorry, there's a couple of people still. Carsten's waiting to join. Ellen and Wendy. It's telling me that...
Yeah, we're just going to go onto the laptop, Dave.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay, so sorry, that confused me for a moment. I'm like, oh, you're already in. Hey, Carsten, nice to see you. Or just wait till Wendy and Ellen have swapped over, and then we'll say hi to you guys again. Oh, look, that all looks good. Yep. Ah, look, it's all going swimmingly. How are you, Carsten? Everything good? Oh, you're muted, Carsten. I'll just get you to unmute your microphone. I'll tell you what. I think I've got, yep, there we go.
I didn't find it. I
Yeah,
used three different conference systems, and the mute button is a different place every time.
All over the place. Yeah, anyway, we've got you now. Thank you for joining in, Carsten. So just a reminder, any of you guys in the Zoom meeting or anyone else who joins, you can just pitch in at any time, just start talking and you are in. Hey, Carol, nice to see you here. Thank you for joining us. Righto. Tristan's keen on the live feed download. Okay, so look, I'll get back to that. Anyone who's interested in how to download and run the system, quick caveat there, it's not ready and there's no guarantee that it's going to work, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on. In the meantime, we should probably talk just a little bit more about the news. Where did we get up to with what was happening with NASA? We talked about Artemis. The ISS crew. We talked last week about the ISS crew launching. So the Soyuz launched. Sorry, this is still just talking about Artemis here. But yep, the Soyuz crew. Two Russians, one American, launched on the Soyuz from Kazakhstan in the last week. So they've gone up to join the space station crew. And then we will have the SpaceX crew launching, on the 22nd of this month. So this is the Soyuz crew joining up with the space station. So there are now 10 astronauts. It's a full house up on the ISS right now until some of them come back down to Earth. Now, the other thing that happened, you remember from last week, is that they had to relocate the SpaceX Resilience. So to make room, to get everything in the right place. So they did that during the week. If you'll recall, what they had to do was actually get the astronauts into the capsule as if they were coming back down to Earth, just in case anything went wrong. All they were actually doing was moving from one docking port around to another one to free the front docking port up for the next crew that's coming up. But just in case anything went wrong with that relocation, they had to be prepared to actually come back down to Earth and land. Fortunately, they didn't have to. That's all gone ahead. So we are now just waiting for the next crew, which is the crew on the right here. 4 astronauts heading up to the station, launching on the SpaceX Falcon 9 Crew Dragon on the 22nd of this month. So that's all good stuff. Was there anything else on the space station? I don't think there was anything else to do with the ISS that I wanted to talk about. But while we're talking about SpaceX, I see that they have identified the problem with SN11, the last one that got all explodey on us. So it did take a little while, but Elon did tweet out, what did he say? A small CH4 methane leak led to fire on engine 2 and fried part of the avionics. Never a good thing. Caused hard start attempting landing berm. And he's basically saying that they're all over it. So hopefully that sounds reasonably promising. How are you guys going, Ellen and Wendy? Remember, your mic's still up, so anytime you talk, you are in. So that's all good. It's perfect. It's working well. So where are we at with SpaceX? The SN15 is still kind of getting put together, and is I'm not sure, who can tell me if they have a date for SN15? I'm not sure if they have a date yet. I don't think they do. But yet we're going straight from SN11 to SN15. We'll keep an eye on that one. Rocket Lab is going to attempt to recover the Electron first stage booster. So on their next mission, which is May, isn't it? So this will be running out of tows. Remember, mission number 11 was running out. Number 10 was running out of fingers. We're now up to Electron launch number 20, and that's called running out of toes. So we're getting a pretty good track record there now. Now, this attempt to recover will not be using the helicopter system. It's just going to splash down, and the idea is to recover it from the ocean. And I think this will be the second of 3 such attempts. So correct me. You guys know who you are, who are more in the know with this than me. Just correct me if I've got anything wrong there. I believe that it's a splashdown, second of 3 attempts to do that. So that'll be in May. A little while away yet, but we'll certainly look forward to that one. Right, there's just a few other quick things that I'll mention in the news. Now, remember the links to all of these news stories, especially the ones that I'm just whizzing through. If you go to it, there's a couple of ways to do it. If you go to our website, spacecentre.nz, click on the Space Dave Live link, and I've got all the links down there. You can also find them in the description on the YouTube video. So let's just quickly whiz through a few of those. This is an interesting one. I was a little bit surprised that this one's going ahead, but this is to do with space junk. This is a story from 9 News in Australia. Now, just a quick quote from the story there. No, it's not. It's just a couple of notes. So this is the idea to try and reduce space junk by effectively shooting down space junk with lasers. It's not quite shooting them down. It's not destroying them. But the idea is that you can slow a piece of space junk by hitting it with a laser, reducing its momentum and letting it fall back down to Earth. Now, this is not a new idea. It's been around for a long time. And my understanding is that it's a great idea. It's a really good way of doing it. But there has been political resistance to doing it because no country really wants to let other countries have the ability to effectively shoot down laser satellites from the ground. So I was actually surprised that this one is going ahead, but by all accounts it is. So now this was produced, this is an Australian thing. It's a collaborative effort between EOS Space Systems, the Australian National University, Lockheed Martin, and the Japanese Institute of Communications and Technology. So you can kind of see a little video of it there. Now, that red laser is actually just a guide laser. It's not the actual laser that they will use. But the idea is that they will just shoot these at these bits of space junk and bring them back down to Earth to deorbit them. So that's fascinating. I'm loving that idea. I'm not quite sure how it's going to go down politically, but it'll be very interesting to see. That was that one. This one I did not actually really get to go and have a good look at, but I wanted to mention it because this is related to what is often called the crisis in cosmology, or that thing that I've talked about a bit before. The problem that we have in measuring the Hubble constant, how fast the universe is expanding and how old the universe is, the distance to things, all of those things are part of this problem. The different ways of measuring these things are giving us conflicting answers, and it's starting to become more and more of a problem, and it's quite an issue. I've talked about it a lot before, so I won't go into it, but there is a good link there to the story on the BBC if you want to go and check that out. I think it helps explain the situation a little bit. Okay, very quick mention of our favorite topic, UFOs. This was, I won't say much about this, very famous picture there that's come from the US Air Force. Basically, it's just talking about how there's a little bit more information coming out about this, that they have confirmed that whatever this thing is, it moved fast enough that it should have been making a sonic boom, but it didn't. If UFOs are your thing, you will probably want to go and check out that story and see what's happening there. Just a quick moment. I'll come back and check the comments in just a sec, but the last tab that I've got here. First results from Fermilab's muon G2 experiment. Strengthen evidence of new physics. Again, I have not looked into this too much myself. I would probably want to, actually. I guess in a nutshell, my understanding of this is that they've been doing some experiments into subatomic particles. They're looking at the standard model of how subatomic particles and things work. And this experiment is showing us that something is not right with our standard model of how we understand things work at a subatomic level. That's good news, because we already know that there's a problem. We know that something's missing, but all of the experiments that we've been doing with things like the Large Hadron Collider and stuff like that, it all just keeps saying, no, you're doing good. It's on the right track. Yep, everything you thought's right, which is kind of nice, but we know that something's missing and we're just having trouble pinning it down. So I think this gives us some hope that we might be trying to find what it is. I believe that the evidence is suggesting that there may be some new particle, which would be just stunning. It would be absolutely amazing. But don't quote me on that. If anyone's got more information, pitch in with that. I will do my best to find out more about it. But if someone else has got more time than me and wants to look into that, that'd be great. Okay, who else have we got in here? Right. Casey's asking, could I talk a little bit about life in the upper atmosphere of Venus? I don't know much about what's been detected. Now, there was a story, Casey, going back, I can't even think how far back now, about, what did they detect? They detected some elements in the upper atmosphere of Venus that could have been suggestive that there were microbial life forms in the upper atmosphere of Venus. My understanding is that that has now been discounted. The last I saw of that was that it had kind of been debunked. Others had said that they hadn't actually found it. I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer than that, but that was my understanding of it, was that it ended up not going anywhere, which is a real bummer. I just can't think of what element it was that they thought that they had found there. But yeah, sorry about that. What else have we got here? Right, Tristan's saying SN15 likely around about the 20th. Okay, so that's a little way away yet for SpaceX. But this is a big jump up, isn't it? The SN15 is quite different. They've got a number of upgrades. So I think we would expect it to take a little bit longer with all the fixes that they were looking at doing as well from SN11. Right. Oh, okay. Thanks, Poison Toad. You're saying that it was exciting news. Unfortunately, the most likely explanation for phosphine, thank you, for atmospheric phosphine is that it's misidentified sulfur dioxide. So watch that space, I guess. Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much for that, Poison Toad. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when you get your hopes up for something like that? But yeah, that's just the way things go. I think that was all the news stories I had here. So maybe we might want to talk about something else. Now, you guys on Zoom or anyone else, anywhere else, just pitch in if there's anything that you guys wanted to say. Anyone want to talk about anything in particular? Because I'm going to start talking about this thing over here in a minute. Everyone's happy? Okay, so I've talked a lot and occasionally used the system that we've got here. You can see it on one of the monitors we've got. So just quickly, this is the system that we use here at the Space Center. It's a system for bringing in various live video, image, data feeds from around the world and in space. And here at the Space Center, what happens is that we've got some computers like this, the one that's turned off here and a couple of others. These feeds all come in here and then get distributed out to other screens around the Space Center with little information displays. But if I say so myself, it's quite a cool system. I'm pretty proud of what I've done here. And at its most basic, you can have just a monitor like the one I've got here that's displaying, in this case, around about 16 different video feeds. Now, I can actually show you them, I think. So this is one set of live feeds that we've got coming in. These are Earth monitoring stations, monitoring what's happening on Earth. Starting from the top, there's true color, what the Earth actually is looking like right now. Then we've got wind currents, temperature, changes in temperature compared to the average over previous years, vegetation index, particulates, things like pollutants, stuff like that. We've got what we've got there: carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, things like that. Aurora forecasts, what's happening on the sun, sunspots, solar wind, lots of really, really cool stuff. So that's some of the Earth and space monitoring stuff. We also have what I'm still working on hopefully this kind of works. You can see some of the feeds that I've got there. Some of them are showing up, some of them not so well. These are spacecraft monitoring things, communications with spacecraft. And if I just zoom in a little bit, these are feeds coming from the space station. It's not catching up. Let's just give that a minute. If you have a look at the top left, you can see the tracking map that shows where the International Space Station is now. Here it is, a slightly bigger view now on the bottom left. So it's over night time. And I'd say what's happened is my feeds have actually frozen there, unfortunately, the live video feeds. But anyway, you get the idea that we've got all of these different video and data feeds coming in. And you can, theoretically, set this up however you like. Now, because I've had to be doing some upgrades and work on the system myself for the Space Center. As you know, I've been at the same time getting it hooked into this live streaming system, and that's what it is when I can flick over to it now. So that seems to be going reasonably well. I should also point out, sorry, we can actually zoom in on those things. We can't full screen any of those things. This is a really nice one here that shows you air currents and stuff around the Earth right now. This was the surface temperature, the vegetation index, a whole bunch of other stuff like that. I think it's really cool. Anyway, while I'm working on this, it occurred to me that the system that I've got could be made so that anyone could download all the files and software required so that you could set it up at home and do the same thing. As I say, the most simple version would be a big monitor like this. You could run it on, I think, any reasonable computer. Not a slow old computer. It'd have to be a reasonable one, but you should be able to set it up and run it like that. Right now, what I'm asking is anyone interested in doing that? Because if no one is, then I won't bother doing the work. Wendy and Alan are giving me a thumbs up. Okay, so I'll leave it open, the idea to do this, but what you would need to do is, first of all, download a free software app called OBS. It's actually designed for live streaming. It's similar to the system that I use for live streaming right now. That's what it's designed for, but you can do all sorts of stuff with it, including bringing in all of these different feeds and doing whatever you want with them. So you'd need to download and run that software. It's free and very safe. Then you'd need to download a bunch of files that I would provide. I could just put them on our website. Then you just import my configuration file into the software. I think I could make the instructions reasonably straightforward and then run it. I think the setup should be reasonably easy. I don't think it would be that bad. The main problem I see with it is that it actually does need a little bit of love and attention to keep it going. That's where the problem is likely to be. So I'm not quite sure how that bit would go. But Tristan's definitely saying yes, please. Ashley's saying, yeah. Hamish, yeah. Well, I think that's at least 4 votes. So with Wendy and Alan, that would make it at least 5. Oh, that's good enough for me. I think I will at least persevere with it. So,
what do you mean by a reasonably good computer? What specs are you looking at?
Right.
I've just got a laptop running Windows 10, 3-4 years old.
Okay, that might do it. To be honest, I haven't actually done any really good benchmarking on it myself. Casey's keen as well. Awesome. Ideally, you'd have a sort of a mid-range gaming computer, which that's not cheap. I'm sort of thinking that the computer that's likely to cost, if you bought it new right now, around about the $1,500 or something like that. If you've got a computer that, I'm not suggesting anyone goes out and buys a computer for $1,500 to run the system. That would be silly, unless you're really keen. But I'm sort of thinking most off-the-shelf computers that were kind of what I would just call a reasonably good computer, not bottom end, from the last 3 years or 4 years or so. So it's, yeah, I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer than that. But so Hamish is asking, how much RAM would you need to run it? Probably 8. I think 8 gigabytes would I think 4 would not be enough. I don't think you would need 16. It'd be nice if you could. Now, look, the other thing is I think that I could make it so that you could simplify it down. For example, you could readjust the resolution. You could make it lower resolution, which would be a lot easier on your computer. If you're wanting to run all of the ISS feeds, all of the live videos at the same time, that's going to be harder. Just looking at these feeds here, I'm just thinking, see, some of these ones, the ones that are animated. So let's have a look at, say, for example, the air currents. I'm not sure how good your guys' screens are. If you've got a big screen, you can probably see that the currents are actually animated. It shows you the movement. You'll be needing to see it on a reasonably high resolution screen, but that's hard on your computer doing that. Some of the other feeds, such as this one here, is just a still image that's updated once per day. That's really easy on your computer. So your laptop would be able to download this. So what I'm thinking is that I could probably do it so that we could have a few different versions of it. That might be a bit further down the track, but so you could have one version that you could run on a really basic older computer, and then right through to one that's got a really cool a gaming computer. That would be the ultimate one. If you've got a nice new gaming computer with a good graphics card, then you'll be in business. What I'm using is a computer that would be about equivalent to, I can't think of the graphics card off the top of my head, but a sort of a lower mid-range NVIDIA gaming card, for those of you who are familiar with that. That should handle it reasonably easy. But what I'm doing is I've actually got a computer I'm setting up at the moment with 3 graphics cards in it with 12 HDMI outputs to feed to all the different screens around here. So you could do there's basically a whole bunch of options. I think you could have a simple version just on a laptop. If you could have just one reasonably big monitor like that in your lounge. If you've got a big screen TV, you could set it up like that. If it was up to me, I'd have about 4 big screen monitors in my lounge at home. Unfortunately, I don't think Ange is going to wear that one, but yeah, I think I'll just stick to doing it at the Space Center here. But honestly, there are so many different things that you could do with it. It's really cool. I'll wrap this up in a minute because I know not everyone's interested in this, but you can just put it on one monitor. You could set up a dual monitor system. For example, I tested it on these 2 monitors here, a dual monitor system. So I had one of them showing the Earth and solar wind multi-view. The other one was showing the live feeds from the space station. You could plug in as many monitors as you like. If you've got a reasonable computer, you can get USB adapters that enable you to plug in more monitors. You can even stream it out over your local area network, if you like, just through Ethernet. You could stream it live, if you like, onto YouTube or anything else. There's just so many things you could do with it. I think it's really, really cool. Anyway, I don't want to go on about this much longer. So I think enough people are giving me some encouragement there that I will try and do it. Just to finish off with that one, don't expect anything in a hurry. Unfortunately, I can't really justify spending a lot of time on that. I will do it as I'm doing the work that I need to for the Space Center here to finish my upgrades. I will try and get a system going so that you can download it. In the meantime, if you are keen to get ahead of the game, OBS is the software that you need to download. Free. Not sure if it's open source or not, but it doesn't matter. Quite safe. I use it myself. It's really good software. So there you go. If you're keen, we'll make it happen. So that was all I wanted to say. But in fact, that's just about all I've got to say. I don't think I've... let's go back to my other notes about other... I know. Wendy and Alan have been telling me that I should be talking about the what's happening in the night sky. So I didn't forget about you completely. I just didn't do any prep work either. So sorry about that. But let's have a look. I think I've got Stellarium open here. So let's just go and see what it says. I have to admit, I have not been keeping a close eye on what's been happening in the night sky. But let's just have a look around. I'm thinking... some good things to be looking at right now in the evening sky. So this is Stellarium. Just a reminder for anyone, Stellarium is a free package that you can download, a planetarium app to show you what's in the night sky. Stellarium. It's well worth having. Get it for your desktop. You can also get these kind of apps for your phone. I'm thinking if we look out towards the northwest there, what am I doing? Sorry, look out towards the northwest. This whole area of the sky with Orion, Taurus and others is always a good area to be looking at. And if we look out there, we'll just zoom in a little bit to the northwest, we can see Mars. The planet Mars is out there. So we've got Taurus down here, which right now is getting very low near the horizon. A little bit higher up, we've got Orion, with Orion's belt, the Sword of Orion, these other well-known stars around here. So we've got 3 objects out there that are going to look somewhat orangey or red. We've got Betelgeuse, the supergiant red star. We've got, if we just click on down here as part of Taurus, Aldebaran, also giant red star. And then we've got the planet Mars over there. So in this sort of triangle, we've got these 3 reddish objects to look at. What's the time? It's 7:45. So a little bit earlier in the evening would be ideal to see them when they're a little bit higher up probably. But a good idea to be keeping an eye out on those things. In the evening, Mars is the only planet you're going to see right now. It's also worth noting Matariki, which we can't see right now because it's gone down below the horizon. Let me just take away the ground. So, I took away the atmosphere. Take away the ground. So down here below the horizon right now, that is Matariki. So, and further down below, of course, we've got the sun and Moon, Venus, and Mercury all sort of around the sun right now. But Matariki is kind of getting into that part of the sky now where we can't really see it. This is the time of the year coming up that Matariki is too close to the sun for us to be able to see. So what it's doing is it's catching up with the sun. So right now we can't see it, but over the next couple of months, it's going to be moving sort of closer to that part of the sky where the sun is and overtaking it effectively, and then coming up over in the east in the morning. When it overtakes the sun, that's when it's coming up in the morning over on the other side of the sky before the sun comes up. So I think this is quite a good way of helping to get to know what's happening with the sky and everything. When you watch it chasing the sun in the west as it goes down, and then we wait until the east until it's coming up before the sun. So let me just put the ground back there so you can't see it, but it's down below Taurus at the moment. So that's some stuff to look out for in the evening sky. As always, it's always a good idea to be looking out for the Southern Cross, especially if you are new to learning the night sky. The Southern Cross is visible on any clear night of the year from New Zealand, with apologies to any of our Northern Hemisphere folks that are joining in. This won't be much use to you, any of this stuff. But it's always a good idea to be practicing looking for the Southern Cross. Right now it's on its side and it's a little bit off towards the southeast. If you want to be looking for Jupiter and Saturn, you will need to be getting up early in the morning and looking out towards the east to see those. Okay, so what else have we got happening in the comment? Hamish, thank you for joining. Hamish, if you're still with us, thank you so much for joining in tonight. Good night, sleep well, and thank you for your positive comments there. Right, Carsten, we'll get back to you in just a sec. Casey's pointing out $5 to buy for your phone for Stellarium. Thanks for pointing that out, Casey. I actually reckon it's worth it. There are lots of free apps, by all means, for your phone. If you're looking for an astronomy app, just go and try a few. When people ask me which app they should use on their phone, I say go and try a few because it's personal preference. Some work better on different phones, and there's enough free ones that it's worth at least trying. But I do think that Stellarium is worth a few dollars. I just find it a little bit easier to use, and I just prefer it myself. Okay, Carsten has got something interesting to show. Do you want to? Now, you should be able to share your screen, Carsten. I think I've got it set up so that anyone can share their screen. So give that a try if you want to.
The button is green, and I think we talked about this when I visited your space center last year, basically. So it's about satellites. So I track satellites on a regular basis, mainly for using them as radio relays to do radio communication over them. But it's always hard to describe how high they actually are over the Earth. So I try to share that now. So I found this interesting website. So currently it's a bit dark because it shows New Zealand and it's dark. And I'm not sure if your resolution shows these little dots that move around.
I can
So
just see them, yep.
These are all satellites. So when I zoom out a bit, so it doesn't tell anything about the height, but if I zoom out a bit, you see, so this website tracks all satellites, actually 19,245. And you can see there's really a dense cloud quite close to the surface, which is all the satellites, the low Earth satellites. And so this quite impressively describes how close they actually are to Earth. But there are lots of them around here. And once you click on one of the little dots, you get a little description what it is. So this is this is one of the Russian GLONASS, the Russian GPS system. And so you can identify all the spots here. But what's more interesting, if I zoom out a bit more, you see this ring around here. And this is all the geostationary satellites. And so they are all in the same distance of the Earth so that they can have a geostationary orbit. And yeah, I found this rather interesting. So you can do several selections here. You can, for example, choose space stations. And nothing really pops up there. But you can show all the US satellites, the English satellites. So you get different dots every time. And you can have different other selections, so launch date, the orbit period, and whatever you want. But in general, I find this really an impressive view of all the satellite and the junk that is around. So this is all not junk. And this is the junk they identified.
That's depressing, isn't it?
Hey, so that was my 2 cents for the show.
Thank you so much. What's the website called, Carsten? I can't quite make out.
I put the link in the comment section.
Oh, okay. You have. Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Not yet, but
okay.
I will do that.
Perfect.
No.
Hang on. I better get away from that. What do I need to do? Okay. Yeah. Look, thank you so much for that, Carsten. That is a beautiful view.
Yeah.
Let me just go. Okay. Something's gone a bit funny with my zoom there. Never mind. I'm just going to ignore that. Yeah. From what I can see there.
So I think we had the optical feedback loop.
Yes, I think we did. My apologies for that. That is very cool. I'm going to look forward to looking into that more closely. I think I was impressed by just the visuals, first of all. That was a beautiful view. And there did seem to be a lot of options there. I love the way that you could choose between different countries' satellites. Yeah. That's really neat, isn't it? So, look, thank you so much for that one. If you could post that in the comments, and I will try and get that into and add it to the description as well. So anyone who's watching in the future, you should be able to go in and hopefully catch the link from that in the description. That is
so the link is already there. So.
Oh, thank you. You've put it in there already. Thank you, Carsten. That is, I think, probably worth more than 2 cents. I'm going to call that your 10 cents contribution. That's fantastic.
I'll take that.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm just quickly going to go back through the comments here. Right. Wendy's saying it would be great to come and see the stars through a telescope. We are certainly planning on having a telescope evening, one or more here at the Space Centre, when I get my next shipment of telescopes. Unfortunately, there's been a worldwide shortage of telescopes since COVID, and I've got 3 telescopes left. You can see one of them. If you want a 12-inch Dobsonian, I've got one 12-inch left, and I think I've got 2 6-inches left. And a bunch of refractors, actually. Sorry, I've still got some of them. But we're getting low. I have got some new binoculars in, so at least we're back in business with our binoculars. So, yeah, we are definitely planning on doing that. Paul's asking, have you covered the nuclear propulsion systems getting us through the universe a bit faster? We have not talked about them anytime recently, but I'm just trying to think, am I going to be able to find this right now? Probably not. I was using it for one of the Zoom sessions I did recently with a school. They had asked a question in advance, but I'm probably not going to be able to find them fast enough to be able to bring it in now. Actually, we did talk about it recently on this show, didn't we? I did mention it, that there was something... look, I'm going to make a note of that, Paul. Sorry about that I can't give you a better answer now. We have been talking about it recently. What did happen? Someone remind me if you can, but it's definitely back on the agenda. I think that's the big takeaway, is that the whole idea of nuclear propulsion in space has really been off the agenda for a very, very long time, mostly for political reasons, that it's pretty hard to be talking about that kind of stuff and getting public buy-in. But it does look like there is some progress with nuclear propulsion, which is far more efficient than using chemical propulsion. Chemical propulsion, I think, it's certainly feasible to get between planets, and it's fine for getting us into low Earth orbit, getting us to the moon, that kind of stuff. But anything further away, even getting to Mars, we could certainly halve the time, at least, of getting to Mars if we used nuclear propulsion. I had just seen one photo that I've got here. I don't know if I should be showing this. This is not the type of nuclear propulsion that you're talking about, Paul, I assume, and it's not the type that we are looking at. But this is going back to a project called Project Orion, back from the 1960s. This was a type of nuclear propulsion that was proposed, and it was a serious proposal. The physics of it are quite serious. This is a kind of nuclear spacecraft that could get us between planets, but instead of being a nuclear thermal propulsion, like which is basically like a normal rocket engine, but just using nuclear power to expel the propellant. So in a similar way to chemical rockets, this particular one, I will draw your attention to this bit at the back here. Hopefully you can see that. It's very small writing for those of you who can't read it. This is the bomb placement gun. That will give you a bit of a heads up as to what we are talking about here. The idea of Project Orion is that you launch the spacecraft equipped with a large battery of nuclear bombs, and then one at a time, you fire the nuclear bombs out the back, and they explode and push your spacecraft forward. So you're riding the shockwave from a series of nuclear bombs. You can imagine how well that went down. Even in the 1960s, I don't think it was going to get a lot of public buy-in. These days, I don't think you would bother suggesting something like that. But the physics of it apparently all works out really well. It's got that shock absorber at the back of it. So this whole bit right at the very back here is kind of the shock absorber. So you shoot the bomb through a hole and then you fire it, and it's wild idea. I do not expect to see such a spacecraft launching anytime soon. But, you know, what you would be talking about would be something more along the lines of a nuclear thermal propulsion. And I should have a graphic to no, this one is just talking about some there's no nuclear there, is there? The EM drive, by the way, has taken another dive just recently. That's looking less likely. But and I'm sorry I don't have anything else, Paul, here right off the top of my head. But that is something that we should definitely get back to, because it is back on the table, and it may well be a thing. Now, I'm going to put a caveat in there. Because we've never had anything like that actually launch or fly, I don't personally expect nuclear propulsion to be part of the first wave of people getting to Mars. It could be. I'm not going to rule it out. But just because there's such a long period of development and testing to go to get that whole thing working, I think it's probably still a little bit too far away. So unless we take a very long time to get any of these things going, I'm picking that nuclear propulsion will probably come a little bit later on. But thanks for bringing that up, Paul. I will do my best to try and bring that back into the show with a bit more information. Now, Calthorpe is asking, do you think there will ever be a colony on Mars? Oh, Radio New Zealand had a segment on today, did they? Mentioning Elon time is always later, but does do what he says. He is saying he will put a colony on Mars. Absolutely, he will be putting a colony on Mars, and I do happen to have a graphic handy for that. So, yes, this is Elon's idea. What you're seeing there with the rockets there, so these are basically the Starship. What we've been talking about with the testing vehicles, the SN11 and everything, this is a bit of an older version here, to be fair, but this is essentially what he's looking at. Elon wants to send lots and lots of people to Mars, and he wants to be doing it within the next decade or two. So I think you've made a very good point there that Elon time is different to everyone else's time. He certainly has a history of being optimistic, shall we say, in his expectations of how things will happen. But I think the key point is, as you've said, he does deliver. When we go right back to when Elon was first talking about just getting a rocket company together at all, he wasn't being taken seriously. I think pretty much everything he has talked about doing, he has managed to do so far. So you've got to take it seriously. I think he is on track. He's got a system here. But there are still so many things to be overcome. I'm quite fond of pointing out that the Starship, the rockets that he's talking about getting us to Mars, he's doing really well with developing them. But really, pretty much everything so far has been in the launch vehicle to get us up into space, and perhaps the propulsion and stuff to get us to Mars. But Elon's not really doing any work on the part of the vehicle that the people will live in. There's a lot of problems to be overcome there. When you ask Elon, what are you going to do about the radiation problem? How are the astronauts going to survive 6 months in space transit just to get to Mars? His answer is, oh, it'll be all right. It's not that bad. Okay, fair enough. I don't know. That seems to be a little bit dismissive to me. I think there are more problems than Elon is letting on. Yeah, he's definitely on track, but there are many, many problems. Of course, he's not the only one. NASA is obviously looking at getting people to Mars eventually, but really they've got their hands tied up with Artemis and getting back to the moon and stuff in the meantime, which is part of the journey. It's all part of it. It's all good. But yeah, I think it's going to be a while away before we do see people on Mars. I think it's 50-50 whether I live long enough to see it. I really do. It's one of the things that I want to live long enough to see. People on Mars, sorting out what's happening with the conflict, the crisis in cosmology that we talked about before. That's another one that I want to see before I go. And finding the aliens. I think those are probably three of the big things that I want to make sure I live long enough to see. Okay. Righto.
As well as ensuring that the Earth is not flat.
Oh, whoopsie. Sorry. Oh, that's a good thing to look out for, Dave. I've got to think about that. Yes, good trick. You know what? I do not think I'm going to live long enough to kill the flat Earth theory. I'm trying my best, but it just won't die. I don't know what you do about it. It's like the moon hoax theory. That'll still be going long after I'm gone, unfortunately. I'm doing my best, though. I am doing my best. Okay. Street lights on Mars, Carsden's saying. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's a lot of light pollution, isn't there? That's a good point. Let's go back and have a look at that mission. Goodness me, Elon, you're taking light pollution to another planet. No good. Mind you, we all know that Elon is not too concerned about space pollution. Okay. Right, thanks for that comment, Paul. Right, what's Poison Toad saying? Elon's Neuralink project's pretty far out. He's already... Oh, yes, I saw something about that. Something about his chimp. Ooh, yeah, I'm not sure about how I feel about that either, Poison Toad. I don't know enough about it to have a good comment, but just the fact that he's doing... Is there anything that you can tell us more about that? Because I don't really know much about it. I don't want to overstep that and pretend that I know more about it. But he has one of his projects is putting chips inside brains. Yeah, yikes, scary stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'd feel about doing that with animals. Really, that doesn't really sound like very. I don't know. What am I trying to say there? It's not really a very PC thing to be doing. I think he wants to be pretty careful there. Anyway, look, we are past 8 o'clock. I should probably be thinking about wrapping this up. If you want to chip in with anything else, ask any other questions, now is the time. I'm just going back to have a quick look at my other notes and see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. A quick shout out to Patreon supporters. I haven't said thanks to you guys for a long time. I know there have been a few of you that have hung in there, even through the lean months when I was just AWOL. Thank you so much for those of you who did stick with me on Patreon. If anyone else wants to do that, you can look us up on Patreon, or probably the easiest thing is actually go to our website, spacecentre.nz, and have a look for the Patreon link there. Or it's actually on the YouTube channel as well. You can find the link there. Was there anything else? No update on the Dear Moon mission. My application to join the mission around the moon. Haven't heard anything. Losing a little bit of hope each week. I've got until the end of April. If I haven't heard anything by the end of April, then I have not made the cut.
There's a question about your shop in the notes.
Thank you. I can't see it. Where is it?
Is your shop open?
Right. From Casey, is my shop open? Had a little bit of a setback with the online shop. That's probably not going to happen anytime soon. My apologies for that. However, for all you good people who follow us on YouTube and stuff, if there's something that you want to get hold of and you think that we might have it in stock here in our shop, or we might be able to help you out with that, feel free to contact me through Facebook or email me. Have we got any of those options there? Just go to the website. You can find my contact details there, or just post a link in a question in the comments if you want to. But other than that, the real world shop is open whenever we are open. That's not normal business hours, but just whenever we're open, our shop is open. But sorry, the online shop is still offline for the time being. Right, Ross is saying, if Musk's rockets explode less, I will have more confidence in his rockets. Yeah. So the mission that I've applied for to go on around the moon is in one of those rockets that keeps exploding. You know what? I actually don't mind if... Oh, no, no, you would have to come back in it, wouldn't it? No, I do need it to land. Yeah, that is an important part of the mission. So, yeah, I'd like to see a bit more of a track record of them actually not exploding. I'd like to see at least 2 or 3 in a row where they didn't explode before I jump on board one of them. Now, I've just realized, what did I... Yeah, that's the view I wanted to show over here, isn't it? I need to get used to this Zoom thing a little bit better. I'm getting there. Okay, it's all good practice, and we are definitely getting there with the Zoom thing. I think it's going well. Casey wants to buy a Space Center t-shirt. That's bad news. Sorry, Casey, I have actually sold out. I've got a couple. Where are they? There's a couple of shirts up there, but I don't think they're going to fit you, Casey. Sorry about that. I will have a look into that and see if we might be able to get a few more of them in. Okay, I'll try and get some progress on the Space Center merch. Okay, so I think I've given everyone a bit of time to pitch in with something if they wanted to say anything. I should just go back to Zoom here and see if I've got this still set up right. Yep, that is the view that I wanted to see. Thank you, everyone who joined in with the Zoom. This is the best test. In fact, that's not even a test. We're going to call that a successful mission with the Zoom. I think it worked really well. Thank you guys for joining in. That was absolutely perfect. It's lovely to have you sitting here. Where am I now? Below, just there. Just it's kind of like we've got a bit of a live audience again, which is really nice. So thank you, you guys. Not sure when the next scheduled session is going to be. I will probably go for next Sunday. Again, apologies. You just need to sort of check and see when we've got it scheduled. If you just go and look at the YouTube channel, you should see when the next scheduled one is going to be. And if I have to reschedule, it should just show up there. So I'm sorry about that. With that, I think I'm going to say farewell to everyone. Thank you so much for joining in tonight. It's been fantastic. Thanks everyone on Zoom. Let's have a wave from all you guys on Zoom as well. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Remember, anyone can come in and join in the Zoom meeting. Love it. Just quickly, with the Zoom meeting, we do open the Zoom meeting up a good 20 minutes or so before we go live. So feel free to come in and join in before so we can just go through and get a few things set up. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll catch you all another time. Night, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.